Well, hello everybody, CorgiXP here, and welcome to the final major episode of our Command Block Academy. In our last episode, we went over a custom boss, and in this episode, we're just going to go over some other kind of more important commands that we never really kind of touched base on earlier, and these commands kind of help with like world editing, game control / rules, and other commands that you might find useful, especially when creating an adventure map, stuff like that. So without further ado, go ahead and grab that notebook, drop that subscribe, join our Discord server, and let's go ahead and get on into today. So a couple things that we've kind of have seen in our previous episodes and have done is what's called Setblock / fill and / clone. Setblock, fill, clone are commands that allow you to do different things like within the world and kind of change things up to edit them. So Setblock is a single block command which allows you to set a certain block to something else. So let's go ahead and grab a piece of grass block, for instance, and let's set it down right here. Let's say I want to change this to stone. What I can do is set block, and when I use /set block / clone or / fill, as you can see, it'll bring up the coordinates right here. Well, what you can also do in order to copy those coordinates, especially if you're doing like a fill command, you can actually tab, as long as your crosshair is on the block that you're specifically wanting to change, and that's going to copy the exact coordinates of this specific block right here. So you can actually copy this and now use that coordinate in another command or anything that you specifically want to do. So set block / fill / clone allows you to very quickly tab through what coordinates that you need for whatever you're doing. It makes it super easy. So let's go ahead and set this to stone, and as you can see, now change that grass block to stone. Pretty cool. Now what if I want to do this whole little box area right here from this stone piece to this grass block and then back down and make like that little square right here stone? What you can do is use the fill command. So the fill command allows you to go from X, Y, and Z in any direction based on a certain amount of blocks. I believe the amount of blocks is 256, so you can't go anything higher. So if like you do a range of like 10 or so 10 or less in every direction, that'll give you like a correct amount. Anything bigger will give you an error saying like can't fill whatever that you're trying to do. So let's just do this small little box right now. So again, what we can do is /fill, tab to get those coordinates, and I can copy that. So I can just go over to the grass block now, paste that back in, and now when I tab, it's going to get the coordinates of the grass block instead of the stone block. So there, and now I can do stone. So that's going to fill that little box / square right there as stone. Super cool. And if I had wanted to take it one step further, instead of just up here, I actually could have aimed it right there. So now let's go ahead and do that same thing. So /fill the coordinates of this stone block. We'll copy that. We'll go back around and aim our crosshair at this block right here. So copy this back in. And now as you can see, it's now one less of that Y coordinate. If we take that to stone, and we take a look, now that whole double Y square / block is now set stone. Super neat. Clone essentially does the same thing. So let's go ahead and take this. But what clone will do is it'll take what you're cloning, so for instance this to this, and you can have it go to a specific location elsewhere. So let's say I want to copy these two stone blocks to, let's say, on top of here. what we can do is do /clone. So take the coordinates right there. Let's copy that. Let's move to their next stone, because basically what you're doing is you're taking the first set of coordinates, the next set of coordinates. So the first set of coordinates is what you're copying or cloning from, and then the second clone or second set of coordinates in the clone is what you're copying to. So we're just copying these two blocks right here. And then finally, the last one is where your destination or where your start block is starting from. Since we're starting with these two and we start here and we wanted to go here, let's go ahead and do this. But we need to make sure that this is actually -60 because we want to go up one rather than down, because we want to start there. And as you can see, what'll happen is we've now cloned that double stone. Really, really neat. And that's what was used essentially for the animation over here, where we use structure blocks, but we cloned certain things. So as you can see, fill, step block, and clone allows you to do some really cool, interesting things. Now let's go ahead into some more like game control type stuff. So /game rule allows you to set certain rules. So for instance, as you can see, all these commands that I'm running are showing like, you know, feedback and stuff. What we could do is game rule. I'm not going to set it off, but I'll just show you what it says. So you can do send command feedback to false. And what that'll do is it'll prevent this part, like successfully cloned, successfully filled, from showing up. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep that as true. Most of the time, you'll be doing certain things like, you know, command block output. Like throughout this whole series, we've actually kept command block output, you know, to false. So you don't see everything happening from all the different command blocks. So most of the time, if you have a lot of command blocks, this one you definitely would want to put as false. If you don't want these shown, like when you're ready to launch your map or your mini game, whatever it is, then you would set your send command feedback to false. Some other game rules are, you know, keep inventory. Let's say you have an adventure map, or you want your survival world to keep your inventory if someone, you know, dies. You can set this to true, and anytime someone dies, respawns, stuff like that, all their inventory slots are going to remain, so they're not going to, you know, lose anything. So game rule is very important, especially when you're trying to set settings for your world or server. There's game mode, which allows you to change the mode of the server. So adventure goes into adventure mode, where you can't break blocks, but you can still interact with, like, you know, doors and trapdoors. Creative, which I'm currently in right now. Spectator essentially is the same as creative, but there's no hitboxes, you can't place anything down, you can't interact. It's basically just flying around and taking a look at your world. And then survival, of course, is, you know, regular survival. You can do time, and for the time you can time add, which will add time to whatever current time that it is. Time query will just tell you what time it currently is, and time set allows you to set a specific time. So time set /day, for instance, set the time to 1000. So now the time is 1000. It'll always remain day, because what I did a long time ago when we first started was game rule do daylight cycle false. And that means that the day cycle won't repeat itself, and it'll always remain whatever time you set it to. Similar to do weather cycle won't change, so it'll always remain clear weather. Whereas if we just do /weather, we can change the weather to either clear, rain, or thunder. And if we do thunder, it's now raining, and eventually we're gonna get, you know, thunderstorms. But I don't want that, so let's go ahead and weather clear. Perfect. And then finally, one other thing you might want to change, depending on what you're doing on your map /world /server, is /difficulty, and you can actually change the difficulty to easy, hard, normal, or peaceful. Peaceful will mean no mob spawn whatsoever, so it's very peaceful. Essentially use this for like, you know, like those cozy like farming games, for instance, where you don't want any mobs to spawn. Easy, mobs will spawn, but it's very easy. You'll always, you know, come back to, you know, life. There's no hardcore, you know, stuff like that. Hard isn't hardcore. You have to actually set hardcore setting on the world setting itself, not through here. But hard just means that the enemies are going to be a little bit more difficult. They'll hit more, they have more health, you know, stuff like that. And then normal is just, you know, basically standard Minecraft. So anything that you create, any new world that you create, will always be pretty much normal the entire time unless you change the difficulty. So again, easy makes it a little bit easier, hard makes it a little bit harder, more mobs spawn at night, it's a little bit more dangerous, stuff like that. Normal is just our normal world, and peaceful means nothing spawns whatsoever. And then finally, some other, you know, cool commands. Let's say you have a whole bunch of stuff in your inventory that you no longer need. I'm in creative mode. You can actually /clear, and it'll clear everything from your inventory. Makes it super quick. A couple of other things that you may want to look into is item replace, advancement, and recipes. So item replace can actually be done to the player or an entity itself, or it can be done into certain things, like a block of a chest, for instance. So let's go ahead and show you some examples here. And whenever you're working with anything that has like a container or a slot, that starts at 0. So a heart bar, for instance, will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 9 slots, but since it starts at 0, your final slot number will be 8. A double chest, for instance, oops, there we go, has excuse me, has 54 slots, but since it starts at 0, the total max container slot will be 53. So I'll show you that momentarily. So let's say I want to give myself something specifically in hotbar slot 1, which means slot number 2, which is the one I'm hovered over right now. What I can do is item replace. For entity, which is myself because I'm an entity, you can choose, you know, at A, which is all players, or any selector that you want. In this situation, we'll just do /s because I'm the one running the command, and we'll do hotbar dot 1 because that's going to be that second slot right here, and we use /width. There's an option called /from. From means you're taking it from a specific thing. So for instance, if I had something like in the chest that I wanted to copy, I could do that. If I had storage from like a data pack, for instance, I could take it from that. From is basically just taking something from someone. If there was another entity, such as a skeleton with a bow, I could actually copy that bow from the skeleton into my inventory with from. But for this case, we'll just use with. And let's just go ahead and give myself a wooden sword. So as you can see right there, in slot hotbar dot 1 or slot 2, I now have a wooden sword. As you can see, this chest is empty. What we can do is also replace an item into this chest. And we wanted to, let's go ahead and put it in slot 0, or the first slot. So what we can do is item replace block instead of entity, and of course the same thing happens where we can actually just tab the coordinates as long as our hotbar is over that specific block, and we can do what's called container. So as you can see, here's the different options you can use. So armor means for like a player entity or mob entity. Container is for your chests, ender chest, shulker box, anything that has like container slots. And then after container, and as you can see, it goes up to, you know, the 53 right there. So container, ender chests, and it'll bring you to horse. So this will be your horse slots. hotbar is your hotbar, and inventory is your specific, inventory. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different, items that you can choose. So like villager slots will have like their own inventory. So as you can see here, villagers have their own setup. But for this one, we will do container dot 0, which will be the first slot, but 0 because it always starts at 0. And again, we'll use width, and we'll do wooden sword. So now, as you can see, there's now a wooden sword in there. Really, really cool. Now let's go ahead, and as you can see, I have some advancements right here. If you press L, it'll open up the advancements tab in Java. And let's go ahead and what should I give myself? You know what? Let's go ahead, because I don't have it anywhere up here. Let's go ahead and give myself the lava bucket achievement, because I don't have it unlocked. We can't see it because I haven't unlocked like the part of the story that allows me to get to that point. So what we can do is, I want to cheat. I want to give myself the lava bucket advancement. So what you can do is type /advancement and grant. And again, you have to select the appropriate selector. So in this case, we'll just do add S because I'm the one running the command, which is perfectly fine. And we're going to do only. Whereas here, everything will give you every single advancement. From will allow you to choose from one advancement to another one. Through will allow you to choose through a specific advancement line. Only will give you only one advancement. And then until will allow you to set anything from until a specific one. So most of the time you probably won't really be using from, through, until. You'll really only be using only or everything depending on what you're trying to do. Only is most likely your biggest usage of such an advancement, because let's say you're working on custom advancements, a data pack, stuff like that, and you need to use advancements. Only is going to be your biggest option. So we're going to go ahead and do only. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different options, but it's going to show like this because there's something down here which is super long. So unfortunately with Java, it doesn't really like condense what you're seeing. So what we're going to do is Minecraft, and it's going to be called story, and it is called lava bucket. There it is right there. So Minecraft from the story, and it's coming from the story like main line lava bucket. And as soon as I give it to myself, you'll see how I got the achievement at the top right, and it says achievement hot stuff. If I press L now, you'll see that it's now unlocked from the Minecraft section, and this is the main story like window. So of course technically this shouldn't have been opened until I had actually acquired hardware, because you technically can't get a lava bucket without a bucket. So as you can see, it's now opened because I gave myself that achievement. What if I decided, wait, I don't want to cheat anymore? What we can do is /advancement revoke, and it'll be the same thing. So select your selector. So I'll just use S in this case, and we'll just use only again, because I would recommend just using only. It makes it a little bit easier. And we'll do Minecraft story lava bucket. Oops, nope, that's not what I wanted. I wanted lava bucket. And as you can see, it'll remove that from myself. And now if I look back into here, that line of achievements or advancements is now gone because I've removed it from myself. It'll reopen if I get acquire hardware, because that's the next kind of progress line from this. So as soon as I get acquire hardware, anything that's lined into that one will then open up. So as you can see, since we've acquired diamonds, this opened up no matter what, because something in that line has already been acquired. And then finally, last thing I want to go over is recipes. Recipes, when you're using a crafting table, will allow you to you know, unlock certain things that you want. So as you can see, currently I have nothing learned or technically like available. What I can do is /recipe give your selector. So in this case, we'll just do @s. Now let's go ahead and do let's do bamboo door. You know what, why not? So now what'll happen is, even though it doesn't show because I don't have like the items like in my inventory, so it won't show up here, but I have now unlocked the ability to actually make that bamboo door had I had those items in my inventory. So rather than having to find that recipe or the items to create that recipe first, I've now basically unlocked it. And what you can also do is /recipe, oops, if I could spell, take from an S or myself, and now I can remove that recipe because technically I haven't found what I've gotten. So now, as you can see, I've now taken away that recipe from myself, so now I can't technically craft that bamboo door until I actually find bamboo appropriately. So that's really it for this episode. I just wanted to kind of show you some extra commands that have been kind of seen previously, but we never really kind of like got too much into. Moving forward, what we're going to be doing is we're not going to be ending this series at all, but we're going to be moving more into kind of like challenges, requests, and stuff like that. So if you guys have any command requests, any challenge ideas, anything you want to see that we haven't really covered in these episodes, you are more than welcome to drop a comment down below. Let me know if there's anything that you specifically, want to see. And then next video, we're actually going to be setting up our first challenge. So I will be showing you one thing, and then I'll be asking you guys to come up with your own set of commands in order to complete, that task, which I think will be kind of fun, kind of neat, and we'll continue doing stuff like that. So again, if you have any questions on any commands, if you have any requests on commands that you want to see, if there's any challenge suggestions that you have, or anything related to commands at all, please feel free to drop it in the comments below. Feel free to join our Discord, reach out any way you would like, and we'll move on with this series with like little mini episodes. Moving forward, I'm going to start my data pack dash series where we learn how to create our own data pack, and then over time we will also begin our adventure map creation, where I will show you how to actually create your own adventure map, so you can start creating your own worlds, your own maps that other people or yourself can play, solo, multiplayer, stuff like that. So I'm really excited. I also have another video coming out very shortly about a new SMP that just released, so I'm going to be doing some content on different like servers, different SMPs, stuff like that. So new content will be coming out very shortly, as I'm sure some of you may be kind of tired and bored of pure commands. So thank you all for watching. Again, drop that subscribe, drop a like, it helps me out a lot. Join our Discord if you would like to. Otherwise, I will see you in our next couple episodes. Have a good one, everybody.